Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Trek YT here, or Nick, back at it again with another brand new Inspirations episode. And today's episode is actually a very cool episode because I found this build and I found that it was just a very unique way of building. I just thought it was really cool and I can't wait to show you guys this build. So without further ado, guys, let's jump right into this episode. So the whole main focal build of this build, or this, I guess, creation, is a castle, but there's a lot of things on the outskirts that I want to take a look at before we go ahead and we look at the center main build. So on the outside you can see that there's a lot of terraforming, a lot of little builds. This is basically like a map that was built for people to like do things on. So it's like a full map, it's not just a single build. So that's another reason why I chose it, is because I like looking at larger maps. I think that having a collection of a bunch of builds is really cool. So up here you can see that there's a lot of nice custom trees. If there's anybody out there that is looking at ideas for custom trees, here's a couple. They're just pretty simple custom trees. It's just basically like a pine tree, but it's just, that's pretty much it. So I think a lot of this terraforming was done with either using World Painter or using probably probably World Edit or Voxel Sniper. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a pretty good terraforming. You can tell that it's very flowy. It works really well, so you can tell that whoever did it very well. So on the outside you can see that there's a lot of builds, and there's a lot of varying builds, which is, I guess, another very important building technique. Is if you're building a large, I guess, collection of builds, so like if you're creating like a map or something, try to have all the builds relatively similar, but at the same time change things about them. So as you can see, most of the roofs on all of these little houses out here are pretty much the same, but you can tell that on all of the colors of the houses are all relatively different. So here's some red and pink, here's some brick and pink, here's some red, up here we get yellow. It's just about changing a little bit to, I guess, create a different version of the original build, but at the same time trying to keep a little bit of similarities in all of them, so that way all of these builds have some sort of similarity together, so they all fit together in their own category of this is all meant to fit together. So that's basically, I guess, an idea of, if you're building a map, try to create things that are the same, but at the same time change fundamental pieces of them, so that way they look like they should fit together, but at the same time they're all interesting in their own way. On the outside we got some boats going back to episode 1 of Inspiration, and these boats are not as cool, but that one over there is definitely as cool, but these ones are just small little boats on the outside. I think they're great boats. I think boats in Minecraft just look really cool because I like the way people do rigging. I like the way that they use fences and glass and stuff like that to do the rigging of boats, and I think it's really cool. So as we're flying around the outside of this castle, you can see something that is pretty important about castles in general. I think that this is what really helps a castle become a castle, is a wall. A wall, as simple as it is, a wall around the outside of a castle, or just enclosing like a castle, is very important. It's very medieval-like. It creates that whole township type of thing where there's like the main manor type thing, and on the outside there's like the smaller houses that are for like the people, the townspeople and stuff like that. So this is a very important thing about I guess building castles. It's not necessarily needed, but it's just a very, I guess it fits for the theme, is having a wall on the outside that encases all the outside builds like that, and then having it continue to wrap around the outside of the entire actual castle. Now, that is just something that, in my opinion, that I think that works really well when building castles, is doing something like that. Creating, there's courtyards and castles. So if you ever look up actual castles, most of the time those things are a reoccurring theme in real castles, like in real actual, not just in Minecraft, builds of castles. So moving over to the actual castle, you can see what I was talking about, how this is a very unique way of building, or very unique style of building. If you're looking at this right now and really can't tell, I'll tell you what is pretty unique about this is this entire build was built on a diagonal. And now you can probably start to see it now that I say it, but you can see how these roofs are really weird, but I like the effect of it, but that's because this entire thing was built on a diagonal. If this build was built on a flat, the entire castle would come out from here and it would go straight that way instead of going in one block each time. So I think that's just a really unique way of building, and I think it really works with this build. It creates so many different ways, or so many different angles, that I think are really cool. Because of the use of stairs, all of these little arcs right here, these little peaks right here, I think they're really unique, and I think it's a really cool, I guess, decorative roof design, but I think it's just another way of building that is never actually used ever, and I think it's very unique. Now, walking in the main entrance, we can see that when you walk in, there's a courtyard. Now, that's just a typical thing in a castle in real life and in Minecraft, is there's always a nice courtyard, but the first thing you're met with is these fountains. I think these are really, really unique. I know that you can't actually, I don't believe you can achieve these in survival Minecraft, but you definitely can achieve them with creative and with world edit and stuff like that, is creating these water blocks that are just floating there. I think they're really, really cool looking because it creates that effect of the fountain going up and then spraying off on all sides. I think that's just a really, really cool fountain. I've never actually seen too many people ever do something like that, so I think that as a map builder, this guy did it very, very well. So I wanted to look at the inside, but having shaders on the inside doesn't look as good because it's very dark. So I turned off shaders just for a second to look at the inside. So on the inside, you can see it's very grand, and I really, really am enjoying the inside of this place. But why I wanted to look at the inside is because that whole idea of building on an angle really transfers onto the inside and works really well because it starts to create very organic, I guess, moves and stuff like that. It's because these two staircases going up on either side, they work really well, but it was much easier, I guess, achieved by having the whole build built on an angle, and I think that's really cool. And on the inside, there's a lot of cool, I guess, like textures and stuff like that, a lot of cool ways that this guy has built all of his furniture, stuff like this. Like, all of these things are really, really cool, and I really enjoy this. Like, I don't even know how he did that. I think that's just like, I don't know. I don't even know how he made that block, but I think a lot of the inside is very cool. Everything from the inside to the outside is very well done, so that's why I showcased this build today. So I talked about this in the last episode about how when you come to building larger builds, you normally are getting to that point where you start to repeat a lot of things. So you're basically building one thing and starting to repeat that. And you can really see that on this, I guess, wall right here. There's like, I guess, separating thing, these balconies and stuff. Realistically, it really looks just like this is one section right here, all of this, but then it is repeated there, then it's changed a little bit, then it's changed a little bit, then it's repeated again and changed. So realistically, building larger builds, a lot of the stuff is repetitive, so that way the builder itself can go ahead and like just build larger stuff, because if he were to have to make all of this organic, nothing repeating, it would take a very, very long time. So I think that a very good tip about building larger builds is that though you don't always want to repeat stuff, it is okay to repeat stuff and change it. I mean, sometimes it gets to the point where repeating stuff is just too much. It looks too bland to the eye because everything was repeated. But since the clash of repeating stuff in this build as well as organics is very, I guess, well balanced, this whole build works really well. Like, the whole main castle is very organic. There's a lot of arches, a lot of roofs that come out at random places that work really well. And then the outside, the whole wall around the outside is pretty repetitive. So I think that this build is really cool, and I think this is where we're going to bring this episode to an end. If you guys did enjoy today's episode of Inspiration, definitely check out the creator down below. His name will be down below, so check him out if you want to. I normally go on random Minecraft forums and stuff like that to find builds like this to fit the whole idea of this episode. So basically, I wanted to talk about how that there's a new way of building, a very cool way of building that not many people do. So that's why I chose this build for this specific video. But I know there's not too many people out there that are like craving these videos, but I just want to let you guys know that building is a process. It's like you learning to build is a process. So you really have to go ahead and look at other people's ideas to get your own mind flowing. Unless you're just a naturally creative person, a lot of people that struggle with building are lacking that creative process and they just need to develop it. So looking at other people's stuff really gets your mind to start flowing, and that's when the builds start coming. So looking at a lot of these videos and looking at a lot of builds is one way that I became a very talented builder in Minecraft. So I just want to showcase the same thing for you guys so you guys can eventually become a better builder in its own way. So if you guys found this video interesting and helpful, definitely show your support down below, and as always guys, I love you all. See you guys later. Peace out.